Well, hello there.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great.
So this is the second ever in-person one of these that I've done.
Wow.
The first was my twin sister. You may know her.
Yeah, might a little bit.
Maybe. So I want to start by asking about you. Like, I'd love for you, the first things that come to your mind when I say, who is Elizabeth Schneider? I'd love to hear them.
Who is Elizabeth Schneider? She is a mom. She is a wife. She is a hardworking, creative person.
Okay.
I think that covers
Is it in that order, do you think? Or do you think
Probably.
because you were thinking about it?
Mom always comes up first, it seems to.
Why?
Because it has taken the most time out of my life, even though I've been a wife longer than I've been a mom. It still takes the most.
Yeah.
I think.
Now, you're a mother to 3, at least semi-grown, in age kids, right?
Right.
How does it feel? How is it different now than having, 3 little ones?
I have been fortunate in that I've enjoyed every age my kids have been at. When they were tiny, loved it. When they were a little bit older, loved it. Even, middle school and everything else around it, I always liked it. I always enjoyed it. So it's fun for me. It seems very unusual for me to know that I have adult children instead of little kids, because I feel like I haven't aged very much. So I don't know how you guys could have grown up in this time.
It's true.
But it's good. I mean, I like every age. I just like every age.
Now, but what does that mean for you? Because you were semi-stay-at-home. Before I go into the stay-at-home piece, you also, you sold Avon.
I did.
And you're a
When
Mary
teeny
Kay lady,
tiny,
right?
yeah,
And I remember
right?
that. And I actually
That's
take
true.
that as, when I've been thinking about it, I'm like, it's probably my first taste of entrepreneurship was like riding with you in the car
Maybe.
when
yeah,
you were
for a few
delivering
months I
Mary
did
Kay.
that. Yeah.
Avon.
I always felt like, because I worked full time before you were born, and the main reason I didn't continue working full time after you two were born is because childcare is so cost prohibitive, for one, and then for two, it was crazy. So
Yeah,
I
that
knew,
was like almost, not almost, but
it was a long
30
time.
years,
It was
25,
yeah, and
quarter
it
of a
was
century
still
ago, and it was so expensive.
It was a lot, and I knew that I didn't want to do childcare in the home or anything, but I knew that I wanted to contribute to our household. I knew that I wanted to do something that was not necessarily just in the household. I enjoyed being home for the most part, but I did enjoy working part-time. And so I think I worked part-time pretty much until this year when I, started working full-time again. And it seemed to work well. Timing of things seemed to work well. I was still able to do everything I wanted to do with the 3 of you and work part-time. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily consider myself an entrepreneur, because even though I was trying a lot of different things. I tried being a preschool teacher for a while, did that for a year just so that I could be with Ian and he could do preschool. And I, was working outside the home, like during the school days type thing. But I like the idea of being an entrepreneur, but I think that I'm much more into the details and the systems of it than I am in the growing a business.
Mhm. But that's also one of those things that, as I plan and as I talk to other people who are planning on growing their businesses, it's not just you alone, and that's something that
True.
Takes a lot of thinking. But even with Mary Kay, I know that you have some tight-knit friends from that, and
I do.
even like repeat customers.
Right.
What do you think when it comes to Mary Kay? What is your favorite piece of it? Like, is it the relationships? Is it the discount? Because that's a nice,
Well,
nice piece for me.
as you guys were growing up, it was the discount, but it's definitely the relationships. And I have a couple of really good friends that, if I needed them right now to bake cookies for your wedding, pre-made cookie dough, bake cookies for the wedding.
Thank you, Cindy and Phyllis, for that. They did help with that.
They did, and when Ian was in the hospital, Cindy just scooped you guys up and took care of things. And so it's really the relationships. And I think that most people who have their own businesses or want to start their own businesses will tell you that that's how it starts. And that's what you're left with at the end, even if you decide to go to another venture, to do something else, you're left with those relationships. And that's a pretty good thing to be, it's a pretty good residual effect, I think.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Well, and honestly, this may sound bad, but when I started my own business, I mean, I've done the side stuff and I've tried, you know, different things as well. I was a Mary Kay lady, and for a short time, I was really excited about it. But a lot of it had to do with me, at least to begin with freedom of some sort, freedom to make my own decisions, be my own boss, and make money that way, and really not limit myself. But it very quickly became the relationship piece. So I wasn't sure which way that went for you, especially since you're a mom, usually staying at home with the kids. If that was your driving force initially, was I gotta get out of the house and meet some people.
No, I don't think it was so much that, because I was around a lot of people. When, you know, with the school that you guys were going to, and it was, you know, small school, and we did a lot of volunteer activities and things with it. We were involved in church, and there was a lot of people here in the neighborhood, and I'm not a huge, you know, I gotta go out and meet the world. We have a really good group of friends that, you know, your dad has known forever, that we've known forever as a family, a great group of friends. And so I wasn't out to like gather more friends, or the monotony at home was making me crazy kind of thing. Because I'm pretty okay just sitting still and knitting, you know, kind of thing. But I think it started out to be, you know, I could get my stuff at half price, and then it quickly became, well, but we were finishing the basement during that time, and I could pay for things, you know, pay for extras instead of, you know, paying for having everything come out of your dad's salary. And so it just kind of ebbs and flows, but the relationships are definitely the number one, I think.
That's so funny. Ebbs and flows is what I say all the time. And people, if they're listening or if they're listening to the podcast or watching this web series, like if they're binge watching or listening, they're probably already sick of me saying ebbs and flows.
That's life, I think.
Yes, and even in the last year of business, there have been so many. It's like, I'm feeling it, I'm not feeling it. I want to plan, I don't care to plan it. Like, that's just how it is.
And I think there's like this circle that I learned in a training one time. It's like, okay, it's enthusiasm, and then you end up kind of moving down here where it's like, I can't do this anymore, and then you kind of start over again. So it's like that, I think, with full-time jobs too. They're not always wonderful, they're not always fun.
And I like how you've done a mix too, because so many people that I've talked to are like, oh, I was born to be an entrepreneur, or I wasn't, something's wrong with me, or I'm trying really hard and it's not working. And it's like, that's not what it is for, like, not everyone needs to do that.
Right.
Some people are just really, really good at whatever
without
profession they choose to do.
Without a doubt, yeah.
So it's not, I mean, corporate's not for everyone, and full-time's not for everyone. It's just, it depends on what you like, because if you don't like it, at least to an extent, it's going to be complain city constantly.
Absolutely.
And
just because you like working full-time now doesn't mean later on you might try something else. It's certainly not something that you have to do your whole life, and you can kind of jump in, jump out, or you might think later on, oh my gosh, I have an idea for a business, because it's when you're passionate about it, like you are about your business, that it's like, okay, I was born to do this kind of thing.
Right. And we're all born to change as well.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's another thing. It's like every time I make a decision, I have to tell myself, this can change, I can evolve from this.
Well, the only constants change.
Yeah.
And that things are born to end. You know, whether they end well or whether they don't end well, whether they end in 2 years or they end in 25 years, nothing lasts forever. And as long as you know that, I feel like you put yourself in a lot better headspace, because it's like, you know, you really kind of can enjoy where you are, knowing that it's not necessarily going to be there forever, at least in the incarnation that it is right now. So,
well, and you mentioned that things change, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do as you go, and not to get too into religion, but just as one of the examples that as we've been growing up, you've said, don't follow anything blindly. Ask questions.
Right.
Believe, but ask questions. You said that about that. You've said that about school. You've said that about all kinds of things.
Right.
What led you to that? Or is there a specific thing you can think of? Or was it just something that, like, were you taught that? Or have you just kind of learned it
I
over
think
time?
I've just sort of learned it. My parents were very, very strong advocates of education. And my mom had had some college coursework and finished college later after you guys were born. And so she was very, I won't say adamant, but she was very much wanting us to get our college education, college degree. So I always knew that learning was important, and learning was important to me even as a child, and I enjoyed it. And then the older you get, you just do question. And so then you go to college and you're with people that are completely outside of the people that you went to high school with. You know, even though I went to a large high school, I still was going to college with people who had come from small towns and who had come from other countries and who had different religions than I did. And I think, you know, as far as religion goes, it's like I've always had faith, but then you start to think when you take a religion class or when you meet other people, you're like, well, you know what? They're good people too, and they're different than me. So what is it that they have learned that I haven't learned that maybe, you know, that we're, and then you find out that we're more alike than we're different.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're doing, you're more alike. I mean, parents always want better for their kids than they had growing up. Even though I had a great childhood, everything was wonderful, you still want your kids to have more and better and sooner, you know, that kind of thing. So I think that as far as just questioning, I feel like you can't ever blindly follow anything. You have to at least be educated about it.
Or try it out yourself first. I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that a lot of, whenever I talk to people about, I sound like I talk to people all the time, but when I talk to people about different things,
Right.
it's like, especially as I've been seeing now more at the forefront in the entrepreneurial world online, people are like, you know, this person has a framework for how they made $100,000, and this one said to do this for $1 million. But everything's personalized, and you gotta work on what works best for you. So if they made their first $5 million by not posting to social media at all, that's not necessarily
Which a
what's
lot
going
of
to
people
happen.
did, but
Yes,
we're
right.
different. It's a different time.
And
now,
they can
so.
teach that as well, but I just feel like people give up, not just in that realm, but in other areas as well. If they don't lose 10 pounds off of this diet in the first month, then they give up. And it's like every personality, body is different. And if you're not trying it for yourself, you can take people's advice.
Right.
But I feel like that also is in turn, maybe you're like always thinking like a teenager, kind of rebelling to an extent, because you're like, well, they told me this, but I want to try it and just see how it affects me.
Right.
Not calling you a rebellious teenager.
No, but I think that you just kind of have to think, okay, she did this, but she doesn't live in the same part of the country I live in. She doesn't have the same financial situation I have. And so that can lead to different results.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And it's like you said, if everybody could follow the same framework, we would all make $5 million, which would be fantastic. But we're all different. Our temperaments are all different. Our discipline's different. I am not the most disciplined person on the planet, and I'll be the first one to say that.
I think you're much more creative.
I am, and I can, but like most people, I can stick with things I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't enjoy a lot of working out, so I don't stick with it as much as I should. So, I mean, it's just things like that. The kind of, and once you figure that out, and I think a lot of, well, not a lot of it, I say some of that probably comes with age. Once you realize that you can be different and still accomplish the same thing, you'll be better off.
Yeah,
I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a break real quick and drink out of it.
Enjoy your.
She pulled out the good crystal for me, and it's water. We're both, oh, listen to that heavy
I know,
sigh.
this
I
is a
somehow
tough
roped
one.
she and my dad into into doing the whole 30 with me. We're on day 19 though, so
Yes,
it's
we
not. You're doing okay. You're doing okay.
I'm doing all right. And I know
It's new. It's change. It's different.
It's different,
And
and,
I know
it's
you
only
can do it.
30 days. So I figure I can do anything for 30 days, right?
Right.
Anything for 30 days.
Right. So water instead of wine today, but you can bet we'll be
Yeah.
just a few more days.
Yeah.
Make it past the holidays. That was my biggest mistake, I think. The scheduling was not too great.
Well, but there's always a holiday.
Yeah.
Because after the holidays and you've got
There's-
birthdays.
Yeah, there's never
and-
the best time to start anything.
Yeah.
Right now is the best time to
That's
start
right.
something.
It's all you got is now.
Yep.
So.
So I remember you have said that when you were younger you wanted to be a lawyer.
I did.
So is that something you were seriously working towards, or?
Well, it's like anything. You're serious about it until you realize how much time it's going to take to do it. And at one time, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, and I wanted to be
You could still do
a backup
that.
singer, and
You could still do that too.
I was a backup singer.
Yeah.
I don't know, I thought for like a hot second about being a medical examiner because I knew that I couldn't kill anybody. I would be a doctor, but I couldn't kill anybody.
Right.
So that crossed my mind, you know. So I mean, there was a lot of things that I sort of wanted to do, but I think the common thread was I really wanted to be a sports broadcaster, and ESPN came to be like in 1980, and so then I thought maybe I could actually.
It was good timing.
Yeah, I mean, I never applied for any work there or anything, but I thought maybe I could actually do
Well,
something.
applications were a little more difficult across
They
the
were
country.
paper. Yeah,
you know?
they were paper. And
What is paper?
I know.
What is mail?
Yeah, and there was. Yeah, so that was kind of that.
And sports.
Mm-hmm.
You are like an encyclopedia of sports. I think you know more than Dad does.
I don't think I know more, but I know enough well-placed trivia that I can. My first job in sports was working for the Kansas City Star, and it was a sports, what did they call it? Sports clerk. And it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday night from 9 to midnight.
Oh, you were
I
partying.
had all the fun. You'd go into the Star and you would answer phone calls. And at that time, because it was pre-internet, it was because that was my junior year of college, people call it, hey, I got this bet with this guy. Can you tell me la 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 la? And we had like a whole library of reference books. And you would look it up and say, yeah, that was his batting average in this, you were right, you know, kind of thing.
What?
But then the primary goal of
Oh my
the
gosh.
primary goal of my job was when people would call in from the high schools and colleges, you know, like Friday night games, Thursday night games, things like that. And they would call up and say, St. Pius beat O'Hara, the final score was this, the top 3 scorers were this, whether it's football, basketball, because I did it for a whole school year. And, you know, like, here's the line score, and you'd fill out the line score, and then you type it into the computer, and then the editor would put it all together. So it was pretty much those little box scores that I used to cut out for you guys and your brother. It was kind of putting those together. And, you know, periodically because the Kings were in town then, and we had a beat writer.
Yes, we used to have an NBA team.
We had an NBA team, and so the beat writer would call in, and he'd give you like the basic stuff. And I remember one night in particular, he had called in, and I got the job because you had to take a trivia test, which I did pretty well on, not 100%. You had to take a test, and then you had to take a typing test. And that's one skill I will say that everybody needs to know how to do. You can't hunt and peck, but
Mavis Beacon.
and I learned to type on this electric typewriter. So I was the quickest typist there that night, and the beat writer called in, and he was having trouble. Sending. It wasn't even fax. It was like a teletype type thing. He was having trouble sending it in, and so he called in and dictated his story to me. And so I typed it up, and we got it in under the deadline. That was like my high point of being a clerk.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So 3 years of that?
1 year.
Sorry, 1 year.
Yeah, because after that, then I got the job at summer internship with the Kings, and then after that, they hired me part-time. And I would go in from 3 to 5, and 2 to 5 after my classes were done. And then I'd stay on game nights. I'd be there on game nights. So that was a score because you got paid part-time pay and you got a free meal.
Ooh. Gotta think about those things.
Yeah, you do. You do. So that kind of went from there.
And how long were you working for them before Sacramento was?
A year. Yeah, a full year. It was like the summer before my senior year of college. And then during my senior year, they made the decision that they were going to move to Sacramento. So, Easter, I don't remember if it was, I think it was closer to April because it was close to the end of the year. They offered me a job because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have a job in May when I graduate kind of thing. And so they offered me a job, and I had learned, during that year, during the summer, I had done an internship with ticketing in the ticketing department. And then in the fall, I started an internship in the PR department. So I learned a lot about PR, worked with a wonderful, wonderful woman who's still, she's the vice president of public relations and information at the Phoenix Suns. She was wonderful, taught me a lot of stuff, and I got to learn how to type play-by-play so I could fill in for that gentleman whenever he wasn't there. And so I kind of got that skill set under my belt. Got a lot of good skills, learned a lot of good skills during that time. And so it was a good senior year.
Yeah.
College, yeah.
I bet.
And I had a job before I graduated, and that was really...
Oh, that sounds great.
I don't know how often that happens anymore, but it was pretty nice, I'm not going to lie. So
I feel like now it's graduate, then internships, and then maybe some more internships. And then
I'm telling you.
but you hopped right on it.
Yeah.
To intern. Were a lot of people interning during college at that time? Or were you
A little bit, but I don't
trailblazer?
think a lot. I know that they had interns at the Kings before, but I was the only one there that summer for ticketing, and I was one of 2 there for PR in the fall. And the guy that I had interned with graduated from KU the same year I was graduating from University of Missouri at Kansas City. Really nice guy, and he got a job before he graduated too at another NBA team, and so it worked out well for both of us. We had a pretty good time, learned a lot, so
Yeah.
it was good.
Well, and I know that you didn't start in Kansas City. You were living in St. Louis. What made you move?
Well, because we had lived in Kansas City until I was in 7th grade, and then my dad was laid off from his job and found a job in Kansas City, a huge company in St. Louis. And like my aunt had worked there in a different department. My mom ended up getting a job there in a different department, but he got a job over there, and he commuted. I'm not even sure how many months he commuted, and then.
So was it like weekends?
He would come home weekends.
Okay.
Yeah, he stayed with my aunt and uncle, and he would come home weekends.
It's a 4-hour drive
Yeah.
between St. Louis and Kansas.
Yeah, and we moved after the first quarter of my 8th grade year. And
Good timing.
great. It was very special because I was already quiet anyway in school, and so then it was, it was not too social after that. But so then I kind of knew that I wanted to come back here to go to school, and spent the first year, my freshman year, going to school at SLU, St. Louis University, and then transferred over here my sophomore year. So.
Did you always think you were going to transfer? Like, did you start at SLU thinking that you were going to transfer?
Yeah, because I lived at home,
Mm-hmm.
Was a commuter student, and I knew that I wasn't going to be there for 4 years. So.
And then when you got the job offer from Kansas City to Sacramento,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 1,500 miles away. Was there any hesitation there?
None at all. None at all. And I called my mom, and she had some hesitation, and my brother and sister were like, kind of thing. I'm like, nope, I'm out of here. I didn't even have a car. I had to buy a car when I got to California.
That's really funny to me that your brother, actually all of them, grandma, your brother and sister, they've all moved around. Were you just like the starting?
Offered a lot of money.
Mm.
And so the concern was you got nobody around,
Yeah.
and you're not making much other money.
So you knew people that were moving out there too.
In fact, the first 3 weeks I was out there, first month I was out there, I lived with another woman who had gone out there with the team as well. So I was in her guest bedroom, and I found an apartment, and then bought a car, and yeah, so it was, yeah.
It was an adventure.
It was an adventure. It was a lot of fun.
Was that your escort?
It was my escort, yes.
So tell us about this escort and
It
what.
was a good car. I mean, it was a car.
Yeah, no, but I mean, when you had us, you still had it.
I had it for like 10 years. Yeah.
And it wasn't just the fact that you had a husband and twin babies in it. It was the fact that you would carry NBA players around in it.
I did a couple times. Yeah. It was not a lot, but a couple.
Was it a 2-door?
It was a 4-door.
Oh, it was a 4-door.
Yeah, but
okay.
the front seat didn't go back very far.
Mhm.
Your dad had a little trouble in it. He's 6'1", so it was.
Let's round it up to 6'2", just
Okay,
for
yeah.
dad.
So.
He used to tell me that he was the tallest, biggest man alive, and I believed him until we were at church one day, and I looked at my friend's dad standing right next to my dad, and I was like, hey! And
He
I
is
recently
not.
told him that. I was like, you lied to me for the first half of my life. It was a good lie.
Yeah.
I believed him for a very long time. I will say that.
Clearly, I mean, you went to NBA parties and things, and you never noticed that.
It's
there
because
was
my perspective was down here,
Well,
so
I
everyone
guess.
was tall.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I thought about that a little bit. So, yeah. But, so you were in Sacramento,
Mhm.
you had all of us, all the kids out
All
there.
kids, yeah.
Now, when you were talking about moving back to Kansas City,
Uh-huh.
was it something that you were like gung-ho about, or were you really wanting to go back to work? Because you had taken off some work to have us,
Right.
and then to have Ian, and so I
Right.
didn't know if it was something where you were really looking forward to going back. And
I was
kind
okay
of-
with it. I was really
Okay.
good with it because when your dad was offered the job to come back here, it had everything he wanted, and he was working a lot. You know, the job that he had in Sacramento was at the arena, so he was working. They would have 200 events a year. You know, 41 NBA games, and then they had concerts, and there was. You know, they had an indoor soccer team one summer, and they had an indoor football team one summer, and so he was working a lot. And so when he got offered the job to come back here, it was going to, his event day numbers were going to go way down. And he was, I mean, you guys were in first grade, so you were kind of approaching that age where he wanted to be doing stuff with you guys in the evenings, not just having me take you to the arena and you'd have dinner and he'd sit with us during shows and basketball games and things. So it was, you know, it was an opportunity for, you know, little, you know, it was a better financial situation for him. It was a much better work situation for him.
Yeah.
And it was going to put us, you know, because we were starting to kind of outgrow that house, but we knew that we could buy much better housing for a lot less money. Yeah, a lot less money.
Between California and Kansas,
Right.
there's quite the difference.
Right, so, and then, you know, your dad's whole family lives here, and so we're a lot closer to family, and it made a pretty easy decision.
Free childcare.
Could have been, yeah.
When you moved here,
We didn't take advantage of it that much, though.
not that much, but I do remember Grandma and Grandpa.
They'll come over periodically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I do. She tried to teach me to crochet.
A couple times she's tried to teach you, and I think mine, Grandma tried to teach you one time. And
I just don't know. I can do the chain link.
I gotta tell you, I'm not a crocheter either. I knit, but I can't crochet. So I don't know
So
where the disconnect is, but
you taught me. I was 7.
probably.
I was 7 years old. And you taught me how to knit.
Mhm.
When I asked you if you could teach me how to knit,
Mhm.
what was your immediate response? Was it like, oh shoot, my 7-year-old's asking me how to knit, this is gonna take a while, or
No, I knew that you could do it. I knew that you had the aptitude for it, and I knew that you could pick it up. I was just concerned because you're left-handed, and I wanted to make sure that I taught you correctly. I didn't want to confuse you with how I was teaching you. And I didn't know if I should face you when I was teaching you, if we could sit side by side. And as it happened, the way I actually knit is kind of left-handed, you know, because we carry yarn with our left hand, do all the looping, everything with your left hand. So you picked it up really quickly, so it was not a problem.
that's good.
And then you knitted a backpack, I think.
I
That was your
did.
first project, was a backpack.
I did,
Pretty,
and I
pretty ambitious, but good.
still need to. I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah.
It's like tie-dyed, but I need a lining in it, a liner in it, because I started to try to take heavier and heavier things and started to stretch.
It's true.
Okay, that was stupid, but you know, I didn't think about that as
Right.
a 7 or 8 year old. So, but besides knitting, what are some other things you enjoy or have enjoyed doing over the years?
I really like knitting. Love music. I've been a big music collector, album collector, love live music.
You were on like school boards and things like that.
Well, those are things you do out of a sense of obligation, not necessarily because you enjoy doing
And then you continued. And then you continued.
You get sucked in. But yeah, I was on PTO for a little bit, and I was on school board for a little bit. I was president one year. And yeah, I think the things that I enjoyed most are the things, at least when you guys were younger, were the things that we sort of did together. Love to do like crafty stuff. We'd make crayons and make candles, you know, the beeswax candles you guys made and things like that. I like doing crafty things. I don't do it as much anymore, probably because it's not the same when you do it by yourself.
Well, I mean, I don't live that far away.
Well, I know.
It's probably not as
true.
fun as I was when I was little.
It's true. But yeah, so I like kind of things that I do close. I'm not, I don't bowl and I don't square dance and I don't, you know, I don't know.
But if you could do something, what would you want to do? I know you tried ball dancing.
We did. Yes, it was our 25th wedding anniversary gift. That was very nice.
Gosh, that was already 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long.
You gotta go dancing again.
I would maybe do like wine tasting more. I would definitely travel more. I really enjoy traveling. I would probably see more movies. Even though there's only your dad and me at the house now, time gets filled up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and it's not just with work, it's just like the things you have to do at home, and then...
His Uber driving?
Well, but I mean, it's just...
You're in the Kansas City area.
Yeah.
Steve Schneider is an Uber driver.
But I would go see more movies, because I really like seeing movies. But, I don't know, I kind of do the things that I like to do now. I don't know that I...
Good, we're not here to hold you back.
No. We probably socialize more with our friends than we do, you know, but, yeah, that's good.
So, I know that you're less of a homebody than Dad is. I think that he likes his space. I'm not saying he likes to just be at home all the time, but I think he likes to just be at peace in his space. He's got his chair and stuff.
Well, and
so,
he's not even, you know, it's not even that so much. You know, we split a lot of things now. Like, he'll make dinner almost every night when I get home because I get home later. And he just still works really hard. So he, you know, likes to relax at night. I understand that. And I'll say, why don't you do this? Or why don't you? He's like this, I don't want to. So I'm like, okay. But, I mean, he'll do things with me. And, you know, I'll walk the dog and, you know.
Well, and you guys are still there anytime that we need you.
Yes, we
too
are.
much probably. I did, Dad ended up helping yesterday as well, but I roped my whole family into helping me with my next video project. And so that, I don't even know if he wanted to do it, but I was like...
I think he was okay. I think he wanted to make sure that you had everything you needed. If you needed help with holding lights or anything, he wasn't sure if Meredith would be able to be down there with you. And he was super happy when I texted him and told him how many people were waiting in line to do it, because he was just like, I want it to be successful for her. I don't want her to be sitting down there by herself.
Well, that was just night one, and I'm not gonna...
Right.
Now that we know how it's gonna work, kind of.
Right.
We don't have all those question marks next to how it's gonna work.
That's true.
But when we were talking, I would love it if you'd share parts of your answer, if you remember it. Also, I asked what makes you feel powerful, or what is your superpower?
Oh, okay. Well, what makes me feel powerful is when I try new things and they're either successful and it gives you confidence to do more new things, or if they don't work, then you're like, don't have to do that again. So I think it kind of makes you powerful when you try something and it works and it's what you thought it would be, you know, because I kind of have preconceived ideas in my head of how I think things are going to be, and a lot of times it's right, sometimes it's not, but I'm not afraid to try new things. I'm not afraid to try new experiences. I'm not afraid to speak in public. Because I know initially in my life I was, but you just kind of have to do things. And then as you do things, you're like, okay, wasn't so bad. I can do that again, you know. Been to dinner by myself. I know that's kind of a thing, you know, for some people, and I understand that. Been to movies by myself, and then, you know, it makes you. Each thing you do makes you want to try something a little bit bigger, and so I think that's. It doesn't sound powerful, but it is.
No, I think
is
it sounds powerful.
I'm not afraid to be alone in a situation, I guess. Not afraid, and that's something else. I know
Right. Well, and you're not. It
causes a lot
just
of.
shows that you don't fully rely on someone else.
Right. Not all the time. I don't. That's
Right.
true. And I think that the more you do the things that you think scare you, the more you realize that you can do more, that your capabilities more, that your vision gets to be a little bit bigger. It's not small. I feel like anytime you can get out of your own body and get out of your own world, the better off you are, because that's where you kind of can be like, you know, what's that saying? You wouldn't worry about people if you wouldn't think of, I don't even know how it does. You wouldn't worry about how much people thought of you if you realized how much they didn't think about you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so I think that's another one of those things where, and that kind of comes with experience too, where you're kind of worried about what people think, and then pretty soon you're not. You're like, oh, okay, you're not. So I think anytime you can try new things that kind of get you out of yourself, get you out of your own head, it's a good thing, I think.
Well, that's what I thought with video. So, I mean, I've made short films, and I've always been behind the camera when I'm doing short films or promo stuff in my corporate job or whatever for what I do now.
Right.
But now the video is becoming bigger on social media and all this other stuff. I was like, I need to have a web series, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable on camera. But it
Were
doesn't.
you really?
Yes, and I mean, I think I do okay on camera.
That's
but at this point, I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, as long as I'm helping people tell their stories or something,
Right.
then I'm fine. Or if I'm helping people through video, or if I'm interacting with people through video, then I'm fine.
Right.
But it takes doing either practice doing the same thing, so almost constantly filming video, because if I stop for a month, then I get nervous about it again.
Really?
Yeah, or trying new things every time, kind of thing. So, yeah, that really resonates with me. And then the other question that I had during the video project, the other main question, I guess there's a third one that was optional. The other main one was, how are you changing the world?
Oh, I said,
You don't have to say the same thing you said
no, I
yesterday.
think, what I said was just being a good person. And I think that people think that that's a simple answer, but I think that sometimes being a good person is really hard. And then most of the time it's pretty easy to be a good person. When it's hard is when people are not being so nice to you. It's hard to not want to lash back.
Right, or they're not trying to see from your perspective.
Right, and that's more often than not. More often than not, people listen to answer instead of listening to hear you. I just read that. I don't even remember who said that. It was like, that is true. They want to say what they want to say, and that's fine, because I feel like more and more, and the older I get, I notice this, more and more, I'm not certain that people are really listening to each other as much as maybe they did.
People are sitting, they blurt out their opinion, they say what they need to say, and then sometimes they'll listen just to retort.
Yes.
But it's not listening to take it in, to understand, to see
Right.
from a perspective, or even to like move forward in some kind of collaborative way or something, you know? Because we all have messages and some kind of genius.
It's hard to listen to. I mean, it's probably, I hope it's easier for her than it is for me sometimes, but, because you spend a lot of time hearing. You spend a lot of time hearing, and so that was a good answer that she gave. I like that.
Right, but I love that you were just going right into that.
Yeah, because it's so, that's part of being a good person is, I think it's part of being a good person, not just the, you know, holding the doors and saying thank you, and which you would like to see more too.
Right, the things that I've grown to expect and then I'm
yeah, the
disappointed
basics,
when they don't
and
happen.
it's like, ugh. But I think that when you show compassion and you listen to people, you can see them soften.
Yeah.
Because I feel like most of the time we're all on the defensive instead of the offensive. You don't want to be like that, but I think it's kind of an automatic response anymore. It's really hard.
Yeah. So another thing that you've been doing, we're filming this in November, and I've been running the Toast a Day challenge. And but it's more, I like to think of it as more of a Kickstarter to, even for me, to be more grateful on a semi-regular basis, not just during the month of American Thanksgiving.
Right.
But I'd like to know, as you've been going through it, we've been focusing on past, present, and future, what has, like, have you had to do any deeper thinking around these things that you're toasting to or are grateful for? And have there been any kind of eye-opening ones or ones that you weren't expecting before you posted about them?
I think that the present one is the easiest, of course, because it's one's closest to your mind. I think that the past one, you know, the past person, because I tend to answer those with the first thing that comes to my mind. And so the one about the past person, and the first person that came to my mind was my first boss, you know, after college. And it was like, I hadn't thought about him in a long time. And I thought, you know, I really am grateful for him because he didn't have to move me from Kansas City to Sacramento. He didn't have to hire this kid out of college. He could have gone to Sacramento and hired one right out of college. And he was kind of one of those old school, you know, get me my coffee every morning bosses. But he had a lot to teach me because he'd been in the business for a long time and he'd worked in a lot of different levels. He'd worked for the NBA and things. And I was surprised when I started thinking about that. I thought, God, you know, really, I am grateful for him. I'm grateful for what he did. Other past things were kind of the ones I expected to be grateful for. And so I think that was the one that was most surprising to me.
Okay. And as we moved into future, though, is there anything that, is it basically like, oh, I've been thinking about these things anyway, I want to move towards them, like, I mean, future plays?
I think so. And there are probably things that are a thread that have kind of run through my life. I believe that you can manifest what you want, but I also believe that when they tell you to manifest, I'm much more pragmatic, and then it's like, okay, I can do that, but I have to do this first, and I have to take care of this first, and I have to button this up first.
Well,
and I have to,
and to be honest, I mean, it's not just I'm going to manifest this and then that's it.
Well, exactly.
It's that you do have to set the stage for it.
Right.
Open up everything else to be able to receive that.
So I think the future things have kind of always been there out here. So I haven't been as surprised that I've answered the way that I have on some future things.
Yeah.
The house in Maine is waiting for us.
Right?
I know it's a vacation home, but it's still out there waiting for us with our name on it.
Unless it's not a vacation home.
I don't know if I want to live in Maine.
I guess you have to
I've
go
never
there.
been.
You gotta visit first. What?
To visit first.
Um,
I would get a house in Northern California on the ocean. There I've been, so I can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So, and since we went into future a little bit, I'd love to know, before we go into the Pivot questionnaire, I'd love to know what's next for you. What is next for Elizabeth Schneider? What are some things that you want to do, either professionally or personally? I know you said travel. I personally think that a book should be in the semi-near future.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it is. I think there's a book in my future. I don't know that it would ever be published. I don't know that it's...
Oh, it could be published.
Well, I know it can be published.
It's gonna get done.
Whether it should be published is probably Because I think often it's like, okay, is it essay form? Is it an actual story? What will it be? I think that for my future, I would, love to travel more. I'd love for all of us to maintain our health so that if you guys are able to come, you can come with us, kind of thing. I want to, and we're definitely working toward this, to have the kind of money that if we want to buy something for us, or if we want to give to something, or if we want to take people somewhere, that we can just do it and not have to worry about it. I would like to write a book.
One or multiple?
I think one at this point.
Okay.
I really, really have it in my mind that I want to hike the Appalachian Trail. And I don't know that there would be a book out of that or not. A lot of people have written about that kind of thing. I think that's a good,
It's a good start.
It's a good start. It's a good start. So I think that's kind of a mesh of professional and, that's not necessarily the job I have now, but I think that there's more that I could do at my work, and I think those are the big ones right now.
I like the Appalachian Trail. I also remember you had talked about potentially walking across the U.S.
I know,
Regardless
great.
of what you do, if you do both, just let me know in enough time so I can follow you with the camera.
Yes.
Get you at your weakest points.
I would like that, and I've tried to find like the map that you would actually take, because you clearly can't hike on I-70. That's
What?
illegal. It's illegal. But that would be great. I would love to do that. Love it. So.
I like it. I like that you have a good mix of professional and personal ideas there.
Because I think that my professional life has always been part of my personal life, and vice versa. I think that I've been able to merge the two pretty well. I think it's worked out okay.
And real quickly, I want to give you a little taste of your own medicine.
Uh-oh.
So my grandmother, her mom, has been writing a book.
Yeah.
And you told her recently when she was stuck on something
Yeah.
to just write.
Get it out of your head.
Think about it later. So keep that in mind.
I will.
Because you just said, I don't know if I want it to be essay or whatever.
Because
Each
I
chapter
write
could be
essays all
different.
day
Each
long.
page could be different.
That's true. That's true.
I say just start writing.
Yeah.
Get it out of your
Get
head.
it out of your head. Probably right.
Take
That's
your
good
own
advice. That was really good advice.
Right. My mom has great advice. It's the taking it for
Not
yourself
always.
thing. It's the leading by example.
I think that's pretty typical.
Which you do very well of, but
that's sweet.
I was very happy to be able to throw that one back in your
Yeah.
face
I'll
just
take
now.
Hey, I've never been too proud to not apologize to my kids and to say that you're right, I'm wrong, and so I will take that
Yes.
piece of advice.
But you weren't wrong in this case. You were just right at another time.
Probably.
Okay, so the next part is how I close out. You introduced me to Inside the Actors Studio. I love it. So I
Probably
totally,
inappropriately, probably.
probably too early.
And then we see
South
Will
Park
Ferrell
and
doing
Beavis and
it.
Butthead
Yeah.
and Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
She showed me all the greats.
Ooh, sorry.
No, not at all. But this is the Pivot questionnaire, which actually it was brought from a French TV show. They adapted
That's
it
true.
for Inside the Actors Studio. 10 questions. You can go as rapid fire as you want, or you can go into each one.
There's
Just-
10, really?
There are
Golly.
10.
I didn't realize.
I think he goes a lot more rapid fire
He
than I
does
tend
go
to,
pretty
because I'm
quickly.
like, I ask the question, and some people aren't as familiar with it. I know
Right.
you're familiar with it.
I am kind of familiar
So.
with it, yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite word?
It's either accomplishment or myriad, depending on the situation. It's one of those two.
What is your least favorite word?
Wow. I think no. No.
I'm sure when we were little that was great.
No. You can't make it sound better. It just
Right.
is no, I think.
I just can only imagine twins trying to learn that, or learning that at the same time, and then no is the only thing you hear.
Sorry.
But what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
My family. kind of all three. Yeah.
What turns you off?
Housework. Oh, it's the worst.
I got that from you then.
I know, it's the worst.
This is gonna be fun. What is your favorite curse word?
I kind of say son of a bitch.
A curse word?
Or I will alter it depending on who I'm around and say son of a biscuit
Uh-huh.
when I'm at work. But son of a bitch.
Yes,
can
and
say
you
a
do.
lot.
You say it with that.
You can inflect.
Son of a bitch.
You can inflect in a lot of different
Yes.
ways.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, crackling leaves.
Ooh.
Love it. Love it. Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Car horns.
Yeah.
Yeah, car horns. I don't like it because it means somebody's impatient about something.
Yes. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would love to be a backup singer still to this day on tour with anybody, really.
Justin Timberlake, maybe?
Justin Timberlake, Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, Springsteen is your guy.
Anybody. Yeah, anybody.
Love it. What profession would you not like to do?
I would not like to be a housekeeper. Yeah,
There it is.
It's honest, good, honest work.
Yes.
And I would not be very good at it, I'm afraid.
And the last question, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Good job. And here's Nathan. I think that's it.
At least we're just crying at the very end, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the first time that I've really interviewed my mom. Like, there may have been
It's true. Papers you had to write when you
paper,
were 5.
right, exactly. My mom's favorite color is purple.
The favorite paper that you guys had to do, and we were here, so it's probably 2nd or 3rd grade, was you had to talk to your parents about the things that hadn't been invented when.
Oh, no. You're like, great. Thanks. This makes me feel old.
So
Thanks for
many, but there's so much technology from when we were little to when you guys were little. I mean, we had to tell you we didn't have microwave ovens, and you're like, it's like, and my family didn't have a TV with a remote control.
Oh.
So you had to go over and I remember telling you that.
What?
And we didn't have VCRs when we were
Oh,
kids.
man.
VCRs, can you imagine that big dinosaur?
Now the
No,
kids
now
are
no
like,
one
what is
has
that?
VCRs anymore.
I have one.
Yeah, and we didn't have computers. And by the time you had done this, we had a computer. And I remember it was just like, gosh, there's been so much invented. We didn't feel old. We just felt like, holy cow, where'd all this stuff come from?
Yeah.
Just in that short period of time, it was crazy. So that was the beginning of your. I bet I remember your face. You're just like. And I mean, some of it seemed simple, but it was like, yeah, the cars we drove all had sticks,
Yeah.
and we drove an automatic, and it was just crazy, crazy.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
I
very
appreciate
much.
it, and I'm gonna finish my water out of the
Out of
the fancy crystal, and
know, right? It's true.
and hang out with you a little bit.
All right, sounds good.
I forgot. Thank you.
Thank you.